Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after frankly years of speculation as to whether this piece of content would ever arrive, the OpTic Dynasty Podcast Roundtable was officially released last night. A phenomenal production, a great trip down memory lane, so many talking points. I made so many notes on this episode, honestly. And today I wanted to talk about what Karma had to say on his second season, going in as the head coach of this OpTic Texas team. The entire cast on this podcast were really excited of the new OpTic Texas roster and their potential, but Karma has some concerns, mainly regarding whether Dashy is going to fully buy in to what he's trying to implement for the upcoming year. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, there's been some questions what Los Angeles Guerrillas are going to do here in Rostermania. It was noted that both the Guard and Los Angeles Guerrillas website now say opening soon under construction. Some people have said that they've actually said this for a long time now, so I'm not really sure if it shows anything as to what Los Angeles Guerrillas are planning to do, because the Guard, which is like basically the organization that owns Guerrillas, wants to get out of here, right? I mean, Cronky Sports and Entertainment. It's quite clear they want to leave esports. Guerrillas will probably want to do the same, whether they'll find a way to dip out and we have 11 teams, or whether they'll be forced to fill the roster, or like maybe someone wants to buy it, but that seems a bit unlikely right now. Remains to be seen, but there'll probably be more from them on the coming days. And also from Seattle Surge, just kind of hinting that there's got to be something on the roster side happening soon. They tweet this out 0 days since I was asked about the roster, and yeah, we think we know what their roster's going to be. Arcetes, Illy, Hook, and aBeZy. But still, it still doesn't make that much sense to me if that is actually the team in terms of roles and everything. Rambo over there is their head coach, although that hasn't been confirmed yet either. So definitely some things will happen on that side over the coming weeks. And we are roughly 3 months after champs, and therefore 3 months until roughly when it's going to be the first event of the season. We think if there's going to be one in December. So thanks CDL for the phenomenal off-season. But yeah, we're roughly halfway through. And to be fair, there's a lot of things happening over the coming weeks, because this weekend we've got the Black Ops 2 throwback tournament. There's that like OpTic Legacy tourney shortly after that. The beta happens at the start of October. Halo World Championships early October. So there's plenty going on. But I just wanted to dive really straight into this OpTic Dynasty episode, right? The inner circle, as they say here, and it premiered last night. We saw a couple of weeks ago now that they teased this, that, oh, there's Crim and there's Cara, there's the boys. Hitch, of course, was there to kind of moderate it. And it was interesting because I think when Hitch commented on this, he said it was only really going to be like an hour and a bit, maybe something like that. But it was like an hour 40. Like, I mean, I don't know how long the cut was, whether it was like 3 hours and they struck it down to, 1 hour 40 or so, but they still did a phenomenal job putting this together. The quality of the production, like, it was like that meme with Martin Scorsese when he goes like absolute cinema, right, in black and white. It's pretty much what it felt like here. So obviously I was very excited, as was the entire community, to see this drop. This was, pretty funny, to be fair, because there was some clip I put up of Shotzzy like barking at his stream for some reason, and then the OpTic guys actually like put this out as well, and people were like, oh, you copied Rab's tweet, and I'm like, I copied it from somebody else, I didn't find this myself. I don't forget exactly where this was, so, I'm not exactly going to feel bad about it or anything. It's just a pretty funny clip, but obviously we were ready for this episode to go live, and they talked about a lot of stuff here, from the early days through especially the jetpack era to when things broke apart somewhat. There were some funny moments as well where Karma was talking about how he had the chance to go and join OpTic Nation, which was kind of like the sister secondary team, and he wasn't there to, he wasn't expecting to be on that team to win or anything. His plan was to get onto the starting OpTic team, and he was just waiting for Nadeshot to get out of there, basically. And Karma was like, yeah, can this guy not just quit already or something? Like, can you just get me on the team right now? And to be fair, the funny thing was that when Nadeshot did eventually quit, step away after Advanced Warfare Champs, Karma couldn't even come in immediately because they to go to Europe, and Karma hadn't got the visa or anything, so they had to bring Enable in, and then they obviously got Karma, and the rest from there is history. But that kind of all constitutes the Dynasty in some respects. But I wanted to look at what was kind of discussed towards the end of this on the way these guys are looking at the future OpTic Texas team, because there's been a lot of people comparing, even as Crim did right here, some of the acquisitions they've made to some of the great acquisitions OpTic has made in previous seasons, such as when they signed these guys initially. Scump obviously is very optimistic for the new OpTic roster, as I'm sure is Karma, because he's the head coach of the team. Formal as well said, if you listen closely in the clip I'm about to share, he was like, look, I'm really confident Brandon's going to be coming different this year. So, you know, it does feel like Dashy's made some strides over the last couple of seasons as a player in and out of the game. Formal reckons this is his year to truly shine once again. And even Crimsix says that, and we've heard Crimsix talk about this before, right? When he's talked about that it's quite good to have players that aren't embedded within OpTic from the start because, well, he makes the point on Dashy. If Dashy gets a 2-piece, and the crowd goes wild, he's going to want to get the third and maybe not make the correct decision, but go for, you know, go for plays that mean you're either really good or you're really bad. And that's kind of how Crim has felt with OpTic, that when the crowd's behind you and you're playing well, you're unstoppable. When the crowd's behind you and you're not playing so well, you can get exposed. So there's no like averages. You're either good or you're bad under OpTic. And a player like Kenny will have the experience of playing against the green wall, having, let's be honest, good success against the green wall in the last few years on Los Angeles Thieves, and knows how to play, you know, without the crowd support. Won't get affected by that in the same extent that other players might if they're, you know, as Formal says, ghosty, coming into the league straight to OpTic. That's a bit of a challenge. So Karma gives his thoughts on the team going forward, what he expects to be happening, the conversations he's had with JP, the conversations he's had with aBeZy, that being Pred, and Kenny, of course, what the future might be there. And saying that there's a few things he noticed from what they were doing at the end of last season that he thinks they can change around in their practice regime or whatever to be even better. I'm sure Kenny has some ideas on that as well, as he's expressed over the last couple of weeks, but also saying that the one concern that he has is how things are going to go with Dashy, and you can't really blame him.
Damon, as your first full year of being a head coach, like, are you looking forward to it?
Yeah. Listen, I didn't really get to do much last year. Oh no, I think it'll be fun to work with those guys, to be honest. Like I said, I don't know. It was a little weird. I think the good thing, like this year, is I think aBeZy and Kenny are super vocal.
That'll help you a lot.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Hopefully it's like not too much. Like the only thing I'm kind of worried is like how Brandon takes it, because I think those two are super passionate.
I think it'll help Brandon.
But I think like as long as everything's going well, I think it'll be really good. And me and JP have already like talked. Like there's some things that like I said, I was such a short time like me being there, but there's some things that weren't happening that I think like we're gonna make happen this year.
I think Brandon's gonna be really final this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think Kenny was probably the best pickup, probably since us. I'm not even kidding.
Well, Dashy was a great pickup in like BO4.
Yeah, but Dashy started at, I'm talking about like long term.
Yeah.
Like because Kenny's played in front of people, like he's won tournaments where people don't cheer.
Yeah.
You know,
That
and
helps,
like and like we've done that.
Yeah.
You know, you've done that. Like at the end of the day, I can't like state it enough how important that is, because once you get like you're playing and the fan base is all cheering all that shit, you don't hear any of that.
Yeah, you're like in La La Land.
Yeah,
like
you don't. You literally are like conditioned to not hear anything, you know, and it's beneficial because he's probably still going to be like, he's not going to be overconfident. He's not going to overheat.
I get
while
what
he's
you're saying.
playing.
Like having someone like Ghosty go into the first time he's playing pro league, he's like, oh, no, it's different.
Yeah, like Dashy only knows OpTic. If he gets a 3-piece and he hears the crowd scream, he's going for the 4th.
Yeah.
You know, but Kenny won't do that. And that's like huge.
So kind of crazy really to look at those 4 guys just chatting away and thinking like the only one of the 4 that's still playing at some sort of shooter on a competitive level is Formal, and obviously Formal's very good on this competitive level, and in a few weeks time he'll be at the Halo World Championship to try and defend his trophy that he won there last year. But Crim's moved on, of course. Karma was the first to retire back in 2020. Scump retired rather recently, but yeah, it's still crazy to think how time has progressed and what things were like 7-8 years ago compared to what they're like today. But Karma is now the coach of the OpTic Texas team. He wanted to do this job for quite a long time, and Hex and others were like, Karma, you sure you're going to wake up on time? Like, you sure you're going to be committed to this? But he does seem committed to it, and I think it can work out very well in the favour of the team. But I think it's interesting for Karma because the most recent season, the big drama of the year was, I mean, it was all December, January with OpTic Texas, right? They had the first event, it didn't go so well. They wanted to make a change. Scump was thinking about retiring eventually. He did pull the trigger and call it a day. They wanted Pred, couldn't get him. Dashy got dropped because they didn't want him anymore. Then Hex brought him back because they had no better options. And, you know, the rest is kind of history. But during that time period, Rambo and Dashy, the big friction. I remember the day that I woke up on and I checked my phone or whatever, and Dashy was live on stream just talking about Rambo and the bowling stuff. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be the moment of the year. If you guys are really new to the scene and didn't watch back in January, basically Dashy was saying that Rambo was skipping their practice to go and play bowling and all sorts of other things, that Dashy wasn't happy with the way that Rambo handled the team from a coaching perspective. And basically, I think Dashy wanted a bit more freedom at times, and also the perspective was that, well, Rambo's telling me how to play the game, I know how to play the game better, and it just wasn't working well between the two parties. So at some point, a decision had to be made, keep Dashy or keep Rambo, and eventually they made the call, all right, Dashy stays. Rambo was forced out of the coaching role into, like, some content role, where eventually he probably said to Hex, like, you might be paying me to do this, but it's not really, like, I'm not really feeling particularly fulfilled doing this stuff, so let me out of here. And eventually he's gone to join Seattle Surge, we believe, for the new season. So, you know, there is some history with Dashy and either coaches such as Rambo or with players such as Crimsix not always getting on the best. So I think you can understand that Karma coming in will have maybe some reservations as to how that relationship is going to be. I'm sure that Karma feels very confident that he's going to work well with JP and with Shotzzy, and of course he had some experience playing with those guys at the end of the most recent season, or at least being their coach at the end of the most recent season, but nonetheless, he wasn't with them for that long. He didn't get to see all of what they did. You guys probably remember when they turned up to Toronto, got slammed, and Karma was like, well, you know, fine, blame me if you want, but, like, I literally just got it. It's my third day on the job, you know what I mean? My third day out here. And I'm sure it was a learning experience for Karma as much as it was for those guys exactly what went wrong at the time. So, yeah, what do you think about Karma going forward? It seems like he has a few ideas for how they can improve their practice compared to what they were doing last season with a relatively different roster. Of course, it's only Shotzzy and Dashy that have been maintained from last year's roster with Hook and Ghosty as it was at the end of the season. But yeah, I think it's understandable that Karma has some reservations as to how it's going to work with Dashy. But I think that if there's any player in the world, former player, that's going to get the respect from a star talent like Dashy, it's going to be Karma, right? It's the same thing that Gunless used to say when, I think this is even back in World War II, there was some interview he did, and he was like, look, if there's a coach of a team, if he hasn't played this game on the level that I've played this particular game at that's just come out over the last few months, rather than, you know, being good at a title a few years ago, I don't care what he says unless he's Karma, you know? And this is the thing that, you know, lots of players won't have respect for coaches if they don't think that that player was particularly good, or if they don't think that player really knows what they're talking about, especially in the context of the game they're currently playing. But Karma's one of those players, first ever 3-time world champ, only wants to do it all on LAN, that is always going to have the respect to the players. So, yeah, I think Dashy will buy into what Karma's trying to bring to the table, and if he doesn't, then, you know, I don't think that it's going to be, oh, unlucky Karma, it's time to go, just like Rambo did. I think there'll be other questions raised. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Just I thought was pretty cool to close out here in honor of the Dynasty Podcast. Every placing they had together, this, I guess, is their, well, kind of card for that period, but also the placings they had during that time. Of course, they had the 4-peat as well. Kind of nice how this is laid out, actually. Okay, they had a couple of bad tourneys in here, but all things considered, I mean, some of these results, especially during the Advanced Warfare periods, just absolutely absurd. I mean, so many grand finals in a row, so many victories in a row. Yeah, not quite as dominant in terms of just being so much better than everybody else than Complexity were. And even Crim said that if they weren't playing CS 6 hours a day and they were fully committed to COD, they would have probably won, like, all of these. But still an absolutely legendary team nonetheless. So very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.